Today with Talking Scuba, we're going to be chatting about the OrcaTorch, the D630 V2. I bought this torch last summer. After 3 years of using a handheld, I got torch envy. With the UK visibility as grim as it's been these last 2 or 3 years, I needed something that was brighter. My faithful little Apex Lunar Mini 1000 lumen, as you can see here, is doing a great job. I'm up on the top right hand side there. It's producing a nice light. My buddy, on the other hand, who is behind me, you can see what he's got here. He's got the OrcaTorch. My 1000 lumen torch, as you can see, is completely overshadowed by the 4000 lumen OrcaTorch behind me. I have done 6 dives now with my new OrcaTorch, and I must say the difference is quite phenomenal. As you'd expect, the OrcaTorch comes in a nice solid box. Apart from the torch, obviously, you get a little manual, some O-rings, spare O-rings, an Allen key and some screws, and the Guzman's handle. It really is all very high quality. There's a couple of little lanyards with it as well. Here is the pack of screws with the Allen key. These are for attaching the handle to the back of the torch. The handle itself is very adjustable and very, very well made. I must say though, after a couple of dives, I found it a bit too bulky for my hand. I prefer the wrist mount. I just guess it's what I've become used to. But I'll talk a little more about that later. What I'm going to do next is show you how I mount the canister on my twin set. I have 4 cam bands holding my 2 independent cylinders onto my BC, and I use a separate cam band to mount the canister. As I have my torch on my right wrist, I mount the canister to the right. And I prefer not to use the cam bands that I use for the cylinders. I like to keep them separate. I tuck the canister in behind the BC. I will shorten this cam band when I get round to it. With my setup, I have the cord coming directly out of the top of the canister. But if I change my setup, as I often do, I'm sure this little feature will come in useful. The canister is very well attached to the cam band. That's not going to come off in a hurry. Before I forget, I'll show you the right angle option for the cable. I did wonder how this was going to be waterproof, but it's a very, very clever way of doing this. You simply unscrew the lock nut, and that's all it is. And the cable is attached via a mechanical hinge. Simply pinch the lock nut up finger tight, it needs no more than that, and it stays very, very securely. Really nicely engineered. Looking back in my logbook, the visibility for my last 30 dives, the best was 8 meters. Throughout all these dives, my 1000 lumen torch had done me very well. But on one particularly murky dive, my buddy, a rebreather diver, had one of these with him. And the difference was quite incredible. As you can see, the battery pack is held inside the canister by a few turns, and that stops it from inadvertently falling out when you take the top off. The build quality is second to none. And so far I feel very comfortable with the reliability. I have been down at 30 meters with a buddy and his torch has failed. And I lit him up as he fumbled around searching for his backup torch. I always carry a good quality backup torch on my left D-ring. In fact, these days I carry two. This torch takes about 3 hours to charge. As you can see, there are circular contacts on top of the battery and 4 pins in the top that connect. The charging cable is a simple single pin, and once it's plugged in, there are 4 LEDs on top of the battery to let you know how the charge is going. On this particular one here, look, there are 3 green and 1 green flashing, so that's close enough for me. There's probably about 4 or 5 hours of life in that at full power, more than enough for me. When it's charging, the 4 LEDs on the top give a good indication of the level of the battery. You can also see the USB port on the top there. I haven't used this feature yet, but useful to know it's there. I could use this to recharge my dive computer if I'd remember to bring the lead. The high quality materials have kept the canister light, and you can see here just about where the 3 O-rings go. It feels very secure and very positive when you put everything back together. I did say earlier that I'd tell you why I chose to change over my handle. I have always used a strap to hold my torch on the back of my wrist. It allows me to flex my hand a lot more. I'm far more agile with my fingers, or dexterous, I think that's the right word. The wrist strap comes with a metal plate pre-built in, and the 2 screws supplied with the torch surprisingly fit. This means that there is no danger that the torch is going to fall off. It's there and very secure. The torch itself has some thermal protection inside, so should you inadvertently turn it on out of the water, it won't fry itself. A feature common with Orca torches is the ability to disable this switch so that you cannot inadvertently turn it on when the torch is stowed away. It's a push button switch, and I found it very easy to use with my left hand. So far I've always tended to use the torch on full power, but I can see there would be occasions when it will be necessary to reduce that down to the half power level. With this particular setup, I've never found any problem at all having the torch mounted on the back of my hand like this. I've also had no problem with the cable getting in the way. In fact, I should say that you almost forget that it's attached by a cable. At the end of the dive, I stow my torch using the bolt snap to my right D-ring, and I continue my ascent using my backup torch. The wrist mount, I think it only cost about £12, something like that. So if it just lasts for 1 season, that'll be fine. That's where the 2 bolts go through onto the metal plate, so it really is very, very securely fastened. And as I said, at the end of the dive, I clip it off on my right chest D-ring, out of the way. Because I usually dive off a rib, I try and stow everything tidily out of the way before I derobe in the water and pass my BC up. So, do I need a torch like this? Well, need, a big word. Need, no. Do I like having this amount of light down there now? The answer's yes, I do. And to continue on the theme of torches, My next video will be talking about this little thing, the OrcaTorch D710. This is one of my 2 backup torches that I wouldn't be without. So if you'd like to join me on that little venture, I'll be pleased to chat to you again. If you would like to see my next videos, or you've got any comments or any questions you'd like to ask, please click some of the buttons, either subscribe or leave a comment or do something like that. But anyway, whatever happens, just keep diving and keep diving safely. Take care.